There's that music again. Come close by the pond, little ones. The light's going soft and gold, the way it does on a spring evening when the day has been good and isn't quite ready to end. I want to ask you something. When is the kindest thing not to make a fuss? When is the loveliest thing a loud voice can do? To go quiet so somebody small can finally be heard. Listen close. The answer is hiding in the story. Now, this happened on the first really warm morning of the spring, when the whole creek seemed to wake up at once. The reeds steaming a little in the new sun, the water bright as a coin, every bird trying out its loudest song. And nobody woke up louder than the brightest pair of feathers in the whole reserve. High in the branches sat Garingo, the parrot, all bright colour and dramatic flourish. He filled his chest with air, looked out over the waking meadow, and he called down,
"Behold, the morning has arrived, and so, more importantly, have I. Friends, neighbours, wayfarers of the dewy path, Garingo brings you the official first sunbeam of spring."
And over hopped Bongo, the bear cub, with his usual cheerful crash through the reeds, blinking up at all that colour. He said,
Wow, an official sunbeam? Is it different from a regular sunbeam? Does it come with a certificate?
Bongo, dear cuddly Bongo, everything is better with an announcement. A sunbeam unannounced is merely weather, but a sunbeam announced, that is an event.
So, is breakfast an event? Because I announced breakfast. Loudly. Was that right?
We will workshop the breakfast announcement later, Bongo. It has potential.
It had eggs in it.
And there it is. You feel it, Bongo. The thrill. Eggs are a fine breakfast. But announced eggs are a triumph. Everything that lives gets bigger the moment Garingo says its name to the morning.
and Zippy the hummingbird darted in, so fast she was 3 places at once, and she squeaked,
Garingo, I loved that sunbeam at 6:04 this morning. You announced it at 6:40. By my count, that's a 36-minute lag on a beam that travels at the speed of, well, light.
Details, swift one, details. The sunbeam was always there. It simply lacked presentation. And presentation I have in abundance.
and up the bank, slow and steady, came Shelley the tortoise. Wise young Shelley in her bright green shell, who looked at all the fuss and said plainly,
Garingo. The sunbeam didn't ask.
The sunbeam is shy. That is precisely why it needs a herald.
It's a sunbeam, Garingo. It has been shy for 4.5 billion years.
4.6 actually, but okay, the point stands.
Now I'll tell you a thing about Garingo, little ones, and I say it with love. Under all that colour beats the warmest heart at the creek. He doesn't announce things to be big. He announces them because a wonderful thing, to Garingo, is too good to keep to yourself. He just hadn't yet learned that some good things grow quietest when you leave them alone. And while Garingo was up on his branch, heralding the weather, something small and lovely was happening down at the quiet bend of the creek, where the reeds grow tall and nobody much goes. And the one it was happening to was the shy one, the one who whispers. At the edge of the tall reeds stood Fern the fawn, soft-eyed and a little shy, holding very still. And in front of her, balanced on a bending reed, was the first butterfly of the spring, slow wing in the warm air. Fern had been still so long, the butterfly had stopped being afraid of her. She breathed out, barely a sound, and she whispered,
It landed on me. It actually landed right on my ear. And it stayed.
and over hopped Bongo, gentle for once, having followed the quiet the way you follow a good smell. He saw Fern's face, and he kept his voice small, which for Bongo is a kind of miracle. He whispered,
Fern, your whole face went soft. I've never seen you look like that. It's like the morning happened just to you.
I don't want to tell anybody. I just want to keep it. Is that allowed? To have a happy thing and not say it out loud?
I think so. I think some happy is the keep it kind.
Now the warm bend of the creek is not so far from a parrot's branch, and a parrot's ears, little ones, are tuned for one thing above all others, the sound of a wonderful thing that has not yet been announced. Garingo had drifted close, quiet as a shadow, and he had seen the whole soft moment. And, oh, you should have watched his face. A grand idea was filling him up like air fills a sail.
A butterfly on the shy one, on Fern. Friends, do you have any idea what I could do with this? The lights, the hush, then the big reveal. Fern, you wonderful, marvelous front page marvel.
Garingo. No, please. I'm not a reveal. I'm just a fawn who got a butterfly.
Of course, small and tasteful. A tasteful reveal. I shall hardly announce it at all. 3 trumpets, 4 at the very most.
And off he flew, already humming his fanfare, leaving Fern in the reeds with a worry where her wonder used to be. She had said no. He just hadn't heard it under all that bright music in his own head. By the time the sun was high, Garingo had gathered half the creek in the meadow for what he was calling, and I quote, a spectacular of springtime marvels. He had hung a banner, he had practiced his bow, and he had whispered to everyone just loud enough that it involved a certain shy fawn and a butterfly of fate.
A shy fawn and a butterfly of fate? Mud puppies, this is the biggest thing to happen since the day it rained sideways. Front row! Everybody, front row!
I count 31 animals, 2 ducklings, and a beetle who wandered in by mistake. That is a lot of eyes, Garingo, for one fawn who didn't say yes.
Eyes are the point, swift one. A marvel with no one watching is just a Tuesday. Friends, gather, for today I unveil the greatest marvel of the season, a tale of a fawn, a feather, and a butterfly of destiny. Behold, Fern, come forward, take your bow.
Ooh, a butterfly of destiny. I didn't even know butterflies had destinies. Fern, you're famous.
Bongo. Read the reeds.
And every head in the meadow turned toward the reeds, toward Fern, who had not asked to be a marvel, and who went very, very still. But not the soft, happy still from the morning, a different still. And in the quiet of all that looking, she whispered, so small that only the front row heard,
I didn't want a bow. It wasn't a marvel. It was just mine.
and she slipped back into the tall reeds where nobody could see her face. The meadow went awkward and shuffly, and up on his perch, with all the eyes still on him, Garingo, for the first time I'd seen in a long while, had nothing whatsoever to announce.
So, on a scale of 1 to oh no, where the announcement of the marvel just went, that was an oh no.
You can't herald a thing that was already happy being small. You just step on it.
Garingo flew down to the quiet bend where Fern had gone, and for a long moment he didn't perform at all. He just stood near her in the reeds, small, the way a bright bird almost never lets himself be. And then, in a voice with no flourish left in it, he said,
I took your morning and I made it about my voice. I thought making a thing loud was the same as making it matter, and it isn't. Your butterfly mattered most when it was just yours and quiet, and I didn't even ask you. I never ask. I just announce.
You did hear me. I said no. I said it right out loud, for me. And that's the loudest I ever am.
You did. You said it plain, and I rolled my big voice right over the top of it. A quiet no is still a no, Fern. I'm only just learning to hear the quiet ones.
It flew away when everyone looked. It got scared and it flew, and now the morning's just gone.
Now, this is where things got interesting, because Garingo sat with that a moment, and then he had an idea. Not a big, loud, look-at-me idea, a small one for somebody else. He lifted his head and he said,
Fern, I have a big voice. It is, if I'm honest, my only real talent. But maybe a big voice is for one more thing, not for making myself bigger, for making a quiet place where a small thing can come back. Stay here. Stay still. I'll handle the loud part.
And Garingo flew up over the meadow, where everyone was still milling and murmuring. And he used that enormous voice of his, not to announce a marvel, but to ask for something the creek almost never gives. He called out,
Friends, one request, and then Garingo will say no more. For the next little while, be quiet, all of you, as quiet as the reeds. No reason given, just give the morning a chance to come back to somebody who needs it.
And the strangest, loveliest thing happened, little ones. The whole noisy meadow hushed. Bongo held his breath. Zippy, who is never still, went perfectly still. And down at the quiet bend, in the new soft silence, a slow wing butterfly drifted back along the reeds. And it landed, not on Fern's ear this time, but on the very tip of Garingo's bright red feather. And Garingo, who would have announced anything, said nothing at all. He just held still and let Fern watch.
You hushed the whole creek. For me. That's the loudest quiet I ever heard.
And after a long, happy moment, the butterfly lifted off Garingo's feather and went wandering away over the reeds, the way butterflies do. And Garingo, who could have turned to 31 animals and crowed about the marvelous thing that just happened on his feather, turned instead to Fern, and he asked her very softly,
Was that one yours to keep? Because if it was, I never saw a thing. Garingo's eyes were closed the entire time.
No, you can keep this one. We'll keep it together, quietly.
Look at that. The loudest one at the creek, learning to whisper.
That evening we sat back down by the pond, and I asked them, Garingo, what was the smallest part of the whole big day?
The hush. The hush was the smallest thing I ever made, and it was the best thing I ever did. Turns out a big voice is only really good for one job in the end, clearing a quiet space for somebody else.
And I learned a happy thing can stay yours and be shared. He didn't take my morning. He gave it back, quieter.
And I learned that read the reeds means look at a face before you cheer. I'm practicing. I read 3 faces already today and only got 1 wrong.
There's a line in the Bible about exactly this, little ones. about how a quiet, gentle spirit is a kind of treasure. It's from a letter a man named Peter wrote to his friends far away, a long time ago, in a book we call 1 Peter, chapter 3, verse 4. He told them this: "The ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price. Not the loud part of you, little ones, the quiet part, that's the treasure. And that, I think, is how a loud bird taught us the quietest thing of all."
Children, gather round. Today, a fact known to be entirely true, and tied, you'll be glad to hear, to the quiet of this very evening our young friends learn to keep. When the evening goes quiet, out comes the bat. And here is the marvel. A bat sees with sound. It calls out little squeaks far too high for your ears, and listens to the echo bounce back. And from that one little echo it knows exactly where a moth is, in the pitch dark. We even have a grand long word for that clever trick: echolocation. And what does that mean, you ask? It simply means this: finding your way by listening to your own voice, come back home. And the bat is the only animal with fur that truly flies. Not gliding, mind you, but flapping on wings made of its own hands. So you see, the quietest hunter in the whole sky finds everything by listening. Class dismissed.
And now it's time for Mud Puppy Minutes, the part of the show where Splish, Splash, and Splosh tell you a thing we have figured out. Today's puzzler: why does the night go so quiet?
Easy. The night is quiet because the wind clocks out. Wind works the day shift. Come sundown, it hangs up its little wind coat and goes home. No wind, no noise.
No. It's that most of the loud animals are asleep. The birds, the bugs, the busy ones, they go still. So there's just less of them making sound at once.
Splash. Splash, my brother. That's far too simple to be a fact. No. The night is quiet because the moon shushes everybody. Big round moon comes up, puts one finger to its big round mouth. Shh.
Wait. Is it just that the noisy ones are resting so it sounds still?
Nah. Mud puppies. We have solved it. The night is quiet because the moon shushes the whole world. That's science, that is.
Just so you know, little ones, the moon does no shushing. The night feels quiet for the very reason Splash nearly caught. Most of the daytime animals are resting, so there's simply less sound about, and soft sounds carry further across the still air. Sleep is the secret, not the moon. But let's leave the frogs their moon. They're awfully fond of it.
See you next time, somewhere in Shiloh Creek.